What's going on, everybody? Jolt here from the Token Minorities, and I am bringing you the Season 4 Week 7 battle of the NPL, this week against Davfernape's Montreal Cobalions. They are a pretty threatening team on paper for sure. You can see their team right here as being Weavile, Excadrill, Keldeo, Ferrothorn, Mandibuzz, Nidoking, Gramble, Superior, Machamp, and Slowbro with the Mega Charizard X. So the Mega alone makes this team very threatening, but just looking at all of his offensive threats, it's definitely going to be a tough team to wall out, and with that in mind, I'm probably going to build a more offensive team this week, just because I don't really think that my walls are sturdy enough this week to really take the hits as I would like them to, or as well as I would like them to, rather. But before I go any further, I do want to apologize if you hear any shouting in the background. My roommate Panda has a lot of friends over tonight, and they're playing Smash in the living room, and I really can't get away from it. This is my only time to record, unfortunately. So I'm sorry, I hope you can't hear it, but I'm sure you can, so I hope it's not too distracting. But anyways, as far as his most notable threats, Mega Charizard X, like I mentioned before, just kind of tears through my team, at least defensively, after a Dragon Dance. So the goal of my team needs to be to prevent it from doing that, to prevent it from getting a setup turn, or if it does get a setup turn, I need to make sure that I have plenty of options to revenge kill it. So that's something I definitely need to keep in mind. Weavile is also a threat because I do carry 3 Psychic types on my team, all 3 of which have really decent matchup against the rest of his team. So with that in mind, I need to make sure the Weavile doesn't hinder me from bringing what I need to bring to be successful this week. And then the Excadrill and Nidoking both are worth mentioning because they both are excellent answers to my Clefable, and without those, Clefable would be fantastic in this matchup, but because he has those, I have to either bring a more cheeky Clefable set, and by that I mean not a standard like Calm Mind or Cosmic Power set, or I need to bring, or I just need to be more careful in my preparation on that. So other things that I need to keep in mind, or the other Pokemon I want to keep in mind, is the Slowbro here, as Slowbro, at least a specially defensive variant, actually matches up very well against my team, as a specially defensive Slowbro should be able to beat a Clefable 1v1, because if it turns into a Calm Mind War or something, Slowbro does have access to Psy Shock, which hits Clefable on the physical side, and if I'm a Magic Guard variant, then Slowbro certainly wins that 1v1. And Slowbro also is an excellent switch into things like my Talonflame, Lucario, Megalodios to an extent if it's a special defensive variant, and Tentacruel too. So really it's a switch into a lot of my mons, so I just need to keep a close eye on that thing. I do think that's probably his best Pokemon overall against my team, just because it does really work well regardless of what I bring this week. So as far as my threats to his team, Breloom looks pretty strong here. Breloom has a very, very good matchup, just considering the fact that he really doesn't have anything that counters it. He has a lot of checks to it, and I guess I could consider a defensive Gramble potentially to be a good counter to Breloom, but if I have like a Swords Dance or maybe even Spore, it's not going to be a counter for long. So I think Breloom is definitely the strongest Pokemon against his entire team this week, and on top of that, I think Wobbuffet is very effective this week too, because he does have a lot of things that are pretty well neutered by Wobbuffet if I play it correctly, especially that Nidoking, as Nidoking is something that's such a big threat to my team, to where I think I'm going to try to build a team around a Wobbuffet trap of Nidoking and kind of see what happens there. So let's go ahead and jump on over to that, and I'll show you what I've come up with. Alright, so as I mentioned before, I am going to build this team around Wobbuffet, as I do kind of need Wobbuffet to handle the Nidoking. Nidoking really doesn't have that many options to take out the Wobbuffet. He could run something like Shadow Ball, I guess, if he's expecting me to trap his Nidoking with my Wobbuffet specifically, but that's kind of a bold prediction on his part, as Shadow Ball really doesn't have incredible coverage for my team on something like Nidoking. I think he would be better off going for more standard coverage like Fire, Ice, and then Dual Stab. So I'm not expecting Shadow Ball on his Nidoking this week. I'm also, it's possible he could bring something like Mega Horn as well on his Nidoking. I don't think he should do it personally, unless he's 100% expecting me to try to trap it with Wobbuffet. And if he does predict that, then kudos to him. That's a very good prediction on his part. I just don't really expect him to predict that. So I do think Wobbuffet is going to serve excellently as a Nidoking counter this week. But if he doesn't bring Nidoking, or if I'm not able to trap the Nidoking at a convenient time, then it also is good against a lot of other mons on his team, including Superior if it doesn't have a +2 yet, including Machamp, as Machamp can't do anything to this. Knockoff does probably 70% to me from a max attack Machamp. Weavile obviously just kicks my face in, but this is also good against Excadrill if it's not running Swords Dance, and things like Keldeo, and even Slowbro, as I'm running enough speed investment, yes, speed, on my Wobbuffet to speed creep a speed creeping Slowbro, as Slowbro is base 30 speed, Wobbuffet is base base 33. If he is a setup Slowbro, I would anticipate him running enough speed to speed creep my Wobbuffet. So I want to make sure that if it is a Calm Mind or Iron Defense Slowbro, that I am able to outspeed it with Wobbuffet as I hard switch it into the Slowbro and Encore him into a Calm Mind or an Iron Defense and proceed to go into one of my sweepers later on. So I thought that was kind of funny and worth noting that I am running a little bit of speed on my Wobbuffet this week. But that's the idea with this set, and a pretty standard move set otherwise. So next up is the Breloom, and courtesy of Styx, I give him full credit for this move set. I'm running an Expert Belt Breloom this week, and I'm only running enough speed on this to, I believe, speed creep a max speed Gramble, I believe. Yes, I believe that's correct. And the rest in bulk. And I thought that that was necessary this week because I want to make sure that I can survive an Adamant Choice Banded Ice Shard from Weavile, just in case, as that's the only way he's going to be able to out-prioritize my Breloom in a way that threatens me. That's with Ice Shard from Weavile. So if I have this much HP on my Breloom, courtesy of only having to run 208 speed to outspeed the Gramble, this is actually very, very solid. This actually might also be my champ. I don't exactly remember at this point. I built the team a few days ago at this point. But regardless, I'm speed creeping something pretty slow, and I have enough HP to survive any Ice Shard from Weavile, bar critical hits. And just in general, the Expert Belt allows Bullet Seed to have a very good chance to OHKO defensive Slowbro. I believe if I get 4 hits, I OHKO it, which is very nice considering the threat Slowbro is to my team defensively. And this set also allows me to OHKO a Mandibuzz after a +2 from Swords Dance with Rock Tomb, so that's pretty cool as well. And then of course my dual stab coverage is very, very good against the rest of his team. So I do think overall Breloom is going to be probably the primary win condition this game, along with the next mon here, which is the Talonflame. Now on this set, I'm banded. I'm running U-Turn, Brave Bird, Flare Blitz, pretty standard attacks for Talonflame. Then I'm also running Will-O-Wisp, just because I do want to have as many status options available as possible for the Slowbro. Slowbro is going to be his primary switch into this, I would assume. It also could be Mandibuzz, and if I'm able to Will-O-Wisp the Mandibuzz, or I guess even the Gramble for that matter, that's amazing. Honestly, I'd have no problem with that whatsoever. And once I have his wall sufficiently weakened in that sense, then I can just spam Brave Bird, and he really just doesn't have many answers to it. So that's very, very strong this week. And I'm only going to be speed creeping a Jolly max speed Excadrill at 302, hitting 303 with this Talonflame. And then with that in mind, I'm able to put in a lot of bulk on this set, which is incredibly nice considering the fact that Weavile again has priority Ice Shard, which could do a lot of damage if I was not running any bulk on this set. But with this much bulk, I'm able to take actually any hit. I believe that includes knockoff from full health from Weavile, and that gives me more freedom in the event of a double down matchup that ends up with a Talonflame versus Weavile situation. I have the opportunity to U-turn if I'm expecting him to potentially switch and not really have to fear losing my Talonflame at that very instant. So overall, this works out pretty well against him, and I do think that this in combination with Breloom are going to be the win conditions this week, and everything else is just going to be trying to get his team into range of these two winning the game. Next up is probably the cheekiest Clefable set I've run since I've had Clefable on my team, and that is an offensive Focus Sash Clefable with Toxic, Fire Blast, Moonblast, and Sop Boiled. As you can see, I have max special attack, Modest, or Quiet, I guess in this case. I am Quiet nature because it does allow me to take the minimum amount of damage from a Gyro Ball from potential Ferrothorn. I thought it was necessary here. I really didn't need the speed for anything. I'm still going to outspeed things that I need to outspeed, so I wasn't terribly concerned about losing all the speed here, and I thought it was worth it because I really don't want to take that much damage from Ferrothorn. But this set does allow me to really hit the majority of his team for very heavy damage, and it allows me to have an extra check to Charizard X. If Charizard X gets a +1 against something, maybe it's like a defensive Charizard X and gets a +1 against my Talonflame, or even against my Breloom, then this will allow me to be safe, because even a max HP Mega Charizard X takes a lot of damage from a max special attack Moonblast from this thing, and that's just really all I need, because after the Moonblast damage and after priority damage from something else, then it'll easily be taken out and not be a threat. This also is nice because it makes sure that Excadrill is not a counter to this Clefable, as when I have full health and my Focus Sash is intact and he tries to go for an Iron Head or an Earthquake or maybe even a Rapid Spin trying to get rid of my rocks that I'll talk about here in a little bit, then I can just kill it with Fire Blast. So that's pretty nice as well. And of course this doesn't really have much for Nidoking, but I do want to trap Nidoking with Wobbuffet, and that's really my full intention. And with that in mind, I didn't feel the need to pack any coverage for the Nidoking, so at the last slot I decided to use Toxic, because Toxic allows my Clefable to actually be an answer to a Slowbro of any variety that is not like Rest Talk. And it also gives me another option against things like the Mandibuzz. Even though Moonblast does a lot of damage, it still gives, and Gramble, I guess, is another example here. It's just nice to have Toxic to spread the wealth around, not the wealth, you know what I mean, spread the statuses around, and overall that'll just help my team against his in the offensive department. So next up is the Megalodios. This set primarily is here for defog, because I do want to make sure Talonflame is as healthy as possible such that it can sweep his team, because I do think it's going to be the strongest priority option I have against him, as Mach Punch is only really good against things that it's super effective against, from Breloom that is. So I do think that Talonflame needs to be at high health for sure. This game just it's essential. So Defogger or Rapid Spinner was important. I decided to go with Megalodios instead of Tentacruel this week because Megalodios' coverage was just a little bit better in Thunderbolt, Draco Meteor, and Surf, as that does hit the majority of his team for heavy damage. The only thing that hard walls this group of attacks is the Ferrothorn, but I don't think he's bringing Ferrothorn against me, and here's why. I have run a Dual Fighting Core many times this season. I have also run Talonflame many times this season. Dual Fighting Core and Talonflame would destroy a Ferrothorn. Not to mention the fact that Clefable can easily run fire attacks, Jirachi can easily run fire attacks, and even Megalodios can easily run HP fire. I don't think he's going to bring Ferrothorn this week. So with that in mind, I thought that this set of moves was optimal here. And again, I'm just going to speed creeping Excadrill because I don't need the speed really for anything else. I don't think Keldeo is the only other thing I'd outspeed here, but I thought that Modest was just more important because it guarantees KOs against no HP Excadrill with Surf, and I believe even Nidoking with Surf. So I thought Modest was just better, and I felt that I would be able to just scare out his Keldeo anyways with this, because he's going to have to respect the option that it could be Timid if I were to encounter a situation where it's Keldeo versus Megalodios. So that's what's up with that set. And then next up here is the Jirachi. This is the dedicated Stealth Rock user on my team. I did need something to run Stealth Rocks. My options were Clefable, Jirachi, or I have something else on my team that learns Stealth Rocks. I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyways, this was my best option for it this week, and I decided to run Stealth Rock, Heart Stamp, U-Turn, and Fire Punch. Now, if you're not familiar with Heart Stamp is essentially the weaker version of Iron Head, but in the Psychic department, so it's base power 60 with a 30% chance to flinch, but due to Serene Grace, that becomes a 60% chance, and this really was essential in this matchup, as this gives me a super effective option against Keldeo, and against Machamp, and most importantly against Nidoking, as this is EV to outspeed Nidoking and Excadrill for that matter, and being able to flinch those down or just weaken them into the range of Talonflame's Brave Bird is of the utmost importance this week. Fire Punch, of course, is there for the Excadrill and the Ferrothorn, and U-Turn is there for momentum in the case where I am able to achieve that momentum. So that's the team. I don't really have much else to say here. We'll go ahead and jump on over to the battle and see what happens. Be right back. Alright, and here we are with the battle, looking to defend our 6-0 record and advance to 7-0 on the season against a really threatening team. We'll just kind of see what happens here, but looking at the team preview, it's not at all what I really expected when building my team, in that I expected him to bring a more balanced team. This is looking like a more hyper-offensive team. I was expecting a more balanced team with a defensive core of something like Mandibuzz, maybe defensive Gramble, and Slowbro, but he didn't bring Slowbro, and he didn't bring Mandibuzz, so Talonflame is looking like a massive threat in this game, which is really convenient considering I am a banded Talonflame with max attack adamant, so that's going to be very strong this week for sure, and Talonflame with that in mind is certainly going to be my lead here. As far as his potential answers to the Talonflame, Gramble is the only thing I can see being an answer. Maybe defensive Charizard X, I can't put that past him, but I do kind of anticipate that being a Dragon Dance set, just because Dragon Dance really is the best set overall against my team, at least on paper. So with that in mind, Gramble's probably all he really has for Talonflame, and with that in mind, if I just weaken that a bit with Breloom, with a Bullet Seed or something, then that'll put it in range of Talonflame, and Talonflame then will just kind of wreck house. So that's kind of the game plan here at Team Preview. I'm going to lead with Talonflame, and I don't really see him having much to stop me from doing what I want to do immediately. So we're going to go ahead and jump on into this. He decides to lead off with his Nidoking, which actually is a little bit threatening potentially, as he could be Focus Sash. And just on the option that he could be Focus Sash, I decided to kind of scout for that with my Wobbuffet. So I just go straight into Wobbuffet, and that damage reveals that he's certainly timid, max special attack, Life Orb, Sheer Force. So I'm just going to stay in and click Miracote, as if he is EV'd that way, there's no way he has any physical attacks, otherwise he should be running physical investment, so I felt that was pretty safe to go for Miracote there, and he's just going to revenge my Wobbuffet with my Weavile, but I will certainly trade Weavile for Nidoking any day, especially considering this matchup. So next up, I'm going to go right back into my Talonflame, knowing that I can easily scare him out with the potential Brave Bird, and just U-turn on whatever his Talonflame answer is going to be. It is confirmed that it's going to be the Granbull. However, this damage does indicate that this is not a max defensive Granbull. This is in fact max attack, as you'll see here. As I go for the Stealth Rocks with my Jirachi, he actually gets a critical hit with the Earthquake and takes out my Jirachi, which is actually not possible unless he has a max attack Granbull. So that's kind of unfortunate. Jirachi definitely could have done more this game, but I did get Rocks up, which is really essential for the Charizard and the Weavile. And yeah, so now I'm just going to go into my Breloom, scare it out, and just go for the Bullet Seed on the incoming Machamp, and I do a bunch of damage to it. Now here I could have gone for the Mach Punch or the Bullet Seed, but I'm going to pause here because this actually is kind of an important part of the game. I do decide to go for the second Bullet Seed, and that could be, it could be considered a misplay, but it really doesn't matter because it does take out the Machamp anyways. But I was trying to give the illusion that I was a Choice Scarfed Breloom. That's what I was going for at this point, as he had no way of knowing my item. And if I changed out my moves from Bullet Seed to Mach Punch, it would tell him that I was probably a Focus Sash Breloom. That's the most likely option here, if I were to change up my moves from Bullet Seed to Mach Punch. I decided to go for Bullet Seed because it did keep the illusion of the potential Choice Scarf, and we're just going to kind of roll with that here for one more turn. As now he goes into his Excadrill. This is why I did take the time to explain that last play. He's potentially expecting me to be a Choice Scarfed Breloom, which an Excadrill does have a chance of surviving a Bullet Seed from, and this would give him the perfect opportunity to spin away the rocks and then go into something like Charizard and try to wreck house against my team. But it turns out that he was actually predicting me to be a Focus Sash Breloom, regardless of that play. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there for Dave if you are watching this game. If I had gone for a Mach Punch on that previous turn, that would confirm that I was a Focus Sash Breloom, because I would be expecting you to go for the Bullet Punch with your Machamp, and Mach Punch would, you know, save my Focus Sash. So just keep that in mind for the future. But I do just go for the Bullet Seed on the previous turn, trying to give off the impression that I was a choiced Breloom. But regardless, I am Expert Belt, and a Excadrill is not taking this hit. is not taking a Mach Punch from an Expert Belt and adamant max attack Breloom. So down goes the Excadrill, and now we're off to a very, very good position, as now I have the perfect opportunity to weaken down the Granbull a little bit with the Breloom, which means it is now in range of Talonflame, and it's time to click the win button, as Talonflame comes in and can just spam Brave Bird, and he has no answers left with rocks on the field. So that's actually going to be the game. As it's a very quick game. It's only turn 10. We're already talking in-game. But Charizard comes in and takes 49% from rocks. And even after Mega Evolving and getting the defense boost, it's not going to take a Banded Brave Bird. And of course, Weavile is just going to fall over in front of Talonflame. So that's the game. It was a nice 3-0 victory for the Toronto Raptors, advancing to a 7-0 record with a plus 24 differential at this point, I believe. We're still #1 overall in the league in terms of differential and record, and I'm very happy with how the team is performing. And we actually have a potential trade on the dock coming up next week, which I will talk about probably next week, just in case it doesn't go through. It's still being voted on at the moment, but definitely some pretty exciting news, hopefully, for you guys next week. But that's the game here. Good game, Dave. It was a very fun match, very fast-paced match. It's definitely fun to go through those every now and then, even though I do love my bulky teams. This was still pretty fun. But as far as next week's matchup, we have Dallas Boy 1992 and the San Antonio Swampbirds, who are rocking a team that is very similar to ours in the fact that it's built around a pretty bulky defensive core with some pretty potent offensive threats, including Landorus Incarnate, which, as most of you know, is an Uber in standard Smogon tiers. However, it is allowed in this format, and I'm pretty excited to try to prepare for it, as I don't have bad options for it. I have some options for it. I'm not going to reveal them now because I still need to build my team, and I don't want him getting ideas from my impressions at this point. But it's going to be an interesting matchup. He's a just very solid player in League format, just overall, and I've actually never had the opportunity to play him in the regular season in the league. I played him in a preseason game last year, but I'm definitely excited to have the opportunity to play against his team, and he's playing really well right now too, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. But that's about all I have to say this week. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you all in Week 8 as we try to keep this winning streak going. Peace.